Welcome back into WDHN Daytime. This week is this very special week. It's bringing awareness to something that could save lives.
Now this week we are spreading awareness for National CPR and AED Awareness Week. Now it is all happening this week, June 1st to the June 7th. This week dedicates awareness to the importance of CPR and AED training and empowering saving lives.
And we're here with pediatric cardiologist Dr. Kalisa Saida speaking about the importance of CPR awareness. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I think one of the first steps is before we can figure out how to save lives is how to recognize when someone is having a cardiac attack, and what would those signs be to kind of look for?
Excellent. That's a really good question. Cardiac arrest is a little bit different than a heart attack. A cardiac arrest is when you lose, basically you lose function of the heart as a result of an electrical problem. So the simplest way of thinking about it is if your heart lost all power and all of its devastating effects. Whereas a heart attack is more of a blockage process that can then lead on to a cardiac arrest. So the most common, most important signs to pick up is somebody who may have fallen to the ground and no longer has a pulse and is not breathing on their own. And that's really something you want to pick up as fast as possible so you can intervene as fast as possible.
And why don't you tell us, how important it is for people to not only, spread awareness for this week, but also to learn CPR and how to use an AED?
Absolutely. So CPR and AED, especially if you can get to it as soon as possible, plays a big role in protecting the brain, protecting the major organs of the body, so that when we are able to get you into the hospital and provide you with the care, that you are able to recover in the best way possible. And timeliness is the most important thing, so if you can start CPR as soon as possible. And AEDs, the one thing that people don't realize is AEDs were designed to be used by the general public, so there really shouldn't be any fear about knowing where your AED or your closest AED is and going to it and putting it on the patient or the person who's suffering from a cardiac arrest and kind of getting that process started.
I know we mentioned it yesterday, but here at WDHN we're heart safe, and we learned how to use those AEDs, which they're very user friendly, and as well as Houston County is one of the first counties in Alabama to be completely heart safe. But for those out there that maybe are looking for a way to learn CPR and to use an AED in a case of emergency, if they're out of business or if they're out of school and something happens, is there somewhere they can go to find this information?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of different sources at different levels. If you want to look at the national level, the American Heart Association has a lot of classes and resources on where you can go be CPR certified. But locally, as part of Dothan being a heart-safe city, the Southeast Medical Center, they actually have free classes available every Tuesday and Thursday where you can go in, register, and learn CPR and learn how to use an AED effectively. Because oftentimes, if you're not a medical personnel, these are skills you may end up having to use to save your loved ones.
And what advice would you give to people who may be just a little bit nervous on, trying to learn CPR and how to use an AED?
I think that there is a lot of people who are nervous about using CPR, but understand you cannot hurt a patient or you cannot hurt a person who is suffering from a cardiac arrest by using CPR or an AED. An AED is generally safe to use. It's designed for the general public. It's not designed for medical professionals. And so when you put the pads on, there is actually a voice from the machine that talks you through the whole process. So even if you feel like you don't know anything about using an AED, just opening up the box, bringing it near the person who's suffering will get you started and moving in the right direction.
That's right. I remember that during the training. You got to put it on like little stickers, and then it's talking you through the whole thing. It's always important to remember these steps and these things to save lives, not just this week, but throughout the entire year. And we appreciate you coming on Daytime and telling us a little more about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.